You've got no idea the background work that went into selecting that theme music. Welcome to The Roar, a Southland sporting podcast. Nick Jeffrey, together with Nathan Burden and the Southland Tribune's Logan Savoury, who are all with us again for, well, I think it's episode 2, even though our predecessor, The Roaring Pen, is also on this feed. But anyway, welcome back, boys. Good to have you.
Great to be back for a second round.
Yeah.
I'm digging that music.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, quite like it too. Our special guest is Jamie Clark, and he'll join us shortly. We're going to talk cricket with a stalwart of the Appleby Cricket Club ahead of the Southland Club Cricket Final on the weekend, where said Appleby will take on Invercargill Old Boys. Two form teams of the comp will go head-to-head. And Jamie's got a number that's just sitting out in front of him, right?
Yeah, the big 300. I mean, anyone that's eyeing 300 games of club cricket should be knighted in my eyes. I mean, that's an incredible amount of sad days. And, there's a lot of guys who've played a lot of cricket over the years, but that's a fair old number.
Yeah, that's handy. I was talking to one of his teammates today who said that Jamie's one of those guys that doesn't care if he makes naught as long as the team wins. That sort of sums him up, and I think you get that sense when you hear this interview with him too.
He's a real club man, and Appleby have got a really strong core of really good club people that have kept their club going really well, and he's certainly one of them.
So it's the culmination of the club cricket season, so good, fitting, and obviously with Jamie counting down to 300, he's going to have to lace him up again for next season, which is an excellent recruitment strategy by the Appleby Cricket Club to bring him back as well. So look forward to having a catch-up with him for us shortly as well. We can tick through some of the stories that have caught the eye. Sav, you were down at the Southland Rugby League Grand Final on the weekend as well. Man, what a fitting finale to their club season that was. That was fantastic scenes and a great game of footy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the words of Andrew Mulligan, absolute scenes. Absolute scenes. It was incredible actually, and it was just really cool atmosphere. And I think a lot of people were going there probably thinking that the Cowboys would get title number 6 in a row, which would have been impressive. But not so.
Yeah, the Fiji Bati got the business done. I think 18-16 in the end.
18-16, yep.
And was tight down the stretch. Traded a couple of late penalty goals, and they got it done.
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was 16-14. I think Cowboys got a penalty pretty much they could throw it over. Yep. Decided to lock it up, and I think everyone thought, well, we're probably going into golden point here. And then the Fijian team, the Souths got a penalty pretty handy and kicked it over and hung on, and the celebration started.
They really did, and actually the singing and the flags waving too. She was. That's fantastic stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, they said it a couple of years ago. I think Southland Rugby League they had an odd number anyway, so they were hoping to get another team. So the bye wasn't in place, and there'd been a significant number come over from Fiji to work for Alliance and others in the Fijian community here. So decided there was enough that would have a crack at forming their own league team. And many of them actually hadn't played rugby league at all. They'd come from a rugby background, obviously, in Fiji, but picked up the game really well and enjoyed it. And Tale Tupati is obviously coaching the team. He actually played in the final last season, but really great for the league and also the Fijian community. Although they did mention that it's extended beyond Fijians this year, so there was a few from other countries as well, Pacific countries, and plenty of flags there to represent them.
Yeah, how good.
What a cracking time of the year to be playing it too. Like you theoretically should be getting the best of the conditions and that sort of thing, eh?
Well, I think it's great because it used to. I mean, I've covered it a few seasons, and it used to get played on a Sunday during the club season, and the poor guys having to back up after Saturday club rugby. We're now in that sort of period and quite nice conditions as well. But generally, it's a wee space for the competition to run stand alone, and when the focus is on that competition, and it's worked out pretty well, I think.
They now move. I suppose that they move into the representative season now, do they? From a rugby league point of view,
I think there's a bit of a break, but that's next up for the league.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, a word for Cowboys, obviously, because that's you won't say the end of a dynasty, but they've got tipped up after, as you say, what were they, 5 in a row, leading into that as well. But no doubt that it was certainly some story on the weekend with Fiji and Bati getting up on that one too. Other bits of news: the National Athletic Champs over the weekend. Good to see some Southlanders at the particularly coming up through the age groups that were featuring prominently.
I think we just got to sort of get used to a big medal haul from those national championships, don't they? But obviously a number of them, and Abby O'Boyle was one of the standouts across several different disciplines, and I think there was it 3 Southland medals in the 1500 metres events in 20 minutes or something like that, and obviously with Abby O'Boyle's high jump in the under 16 was the Cornell with Will Brown in the under 16 boys as well. So, yeah, I mean they seem to keep producing, don't they?
They really do, actually, and Abby especially. What did she end up winning? 800 steeplechase and high jump too. So you'd actually have to go. You can see the all-round sort of athlete that's coming up through the ranks in her. Tori Peters obviously featuring as well too. We'll claim her, even though she was throwing the javelin stick a long way. Again, just another national title for her. She was under a Waikato banner, but obviously a good Southland girl. So that was good to see, and that sets her up quite nicely as well too. So, yeah, congratulations to Athletic Southland for their efforts up and over the weekend. Sharks, I spent most of the week on the road for the Southland Sharks. Can confirm it's a long way from Christchurch to Greymouth. I tell you what, there were some brutally long days over there.
What I was going to say is that last week when we recorded the episode 1 and you had to shuffle off to go referee a basketball game.
Yes.
And then you're up to...
and
I just spotted your
this
name.
This volunteerism is just, it's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah.
And then now so you're obviously with the Sharks in an official capacity there. And then back here on media duties, obviously. Very rounded sports administrator.
I must admit, it was on one of the games, I think it might have been... whatever the game was, they all roll into one now on Thursday night up against the Jets. I was actually listed on the box score as assistant coach.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. So, of course, I naturally screenshotted that, immediately sent that to Coach Guy Malloy, and also followed it up with a photo of a few drawn plays on the old clipboard with, as well too. He never really went to me in the huddle on Friday against the Rams, which was a bit disappointing, to be honest. Anyway.
How did you go? How did they fill this minivan up on the way over there? What was that like?
Well, 2 minivans, a couple of minivans over. And of course, you've got quite a few big boys. They're all big boys. Callum McRae got dibs on the front seat at 7'2", which is understandable, on one. And then the old man Andrew Wheeler got the other one, and Coach Guy was in a car with assistant John Ord coming over as well too. So we got round good actually. Awesome, as you'd kind of guess. As logistically challenging as it was to go over there, just a great week to get away as a group. And particularly, this is the thing. There was 2 training runs really before we went up there. So. Nothing like getting the group together and life on the road, and then obviously to get 3 games under the belt was awesome. Obviously 0 from 3. Now naturally a team that suffers 3 losses goes, the wins don't matter in pre-season. But to be
Daryl
fair,
Mitchell.
Yeah, that's right. But to be fair, that is really the case, and I think 2 of those games went to overtime, and to be fair, probably played the young fellas down the stretch in those games as well. So could have easily won a couple if the want had been there as well too. But just great to actually see those combinations start bringing some of the new pieces into the mix as well too. So really enjoyable weekend.
Because there's a unique situation where at the pre-season game against Otago this Sunday, we're right at the stadium, and then you play Otago in the first round as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's always going to be a wee bit of a hard one, so you don't want to show too many cards a week out before playing them when there's actually competition points up for grabs. So this Sunday the Nuggets will travel down and play at ILT Stadium up against the Sharks with games in the afternoon. So the really interesting thing about Sunday is that they'll also be playing at a rapid league format beforehand as well. So this is the new initiative that's been brought into the National Basketball League this year, where players who are non-starters, so you can't have your first 5 that will play in the main game, but the depth of your roster, and a really great opportunity for some of your local talent particularly to be able to play. There'll be a curtain raiser, for want of a better term, that'll be played 1 hour before the tip-off of the main game in each of the games throughout the NBL season. So it's called Rapid League. That's because it's 4 4-minute quarters. So the idea is to have it bang done in about half an hour's time, and then half an hour warm-up for the boys. That'll be really interesting to see how that will roll as well too. So that should be good this Sunday to have a bit of a dry run on that, because it is obviously something that's quite new for the league this coming year. So.
Sam Timmins turning out for the Nuggets?
No, he's been signed by Franklin actually, so he's staying in Auckland. Yeah, so It's interesting. It's been a really interesting off-season and a really competitive recruiting environment. That's just what it is now, across the boards as well. The talent that you would normally see coming out of the Australian NBL clubs as well, there's a little bit of that happening, but a lot of them are staying a lot closer to home, either in Australia, because obviously particularly the Australian clubs are keen to keep them under sort of lock and key and close to home, which is understandable if they've got multi-year contracts. But certainly if you looked at them on paper, the two Auckland-based teams, Franklin and particularly the Auckland Tuatara, are two very strong-looking combinations, particularly with New Zealand talent. So getting some of that New Zealand talent out of the big smoke has been a little bit more challenging. We're really happy with the group. Particularly 3 American imports who came in. I think we talked about them last week on the podcast as well. So they're 3 characters. We can confirm that much, and there'll be great value both on and off the court.
We might have to get them on the podcast at some
I reckon
stage.
There'll be some good yarns there.
Did they get any whitebait over on the East Coast?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't too much whitebait. No, we were well hosted though. They did a really good job. First time that they've had it actually over the coast. So the hope is that they'll do that on a multi-year, going forward as well too. So she was a good. She's a good time. I guess we'll find out. As you say, Sav, it's only a couple of weeks away until that the Sal's NBL will get up and underway. Tell you the other really interesting story. You wrote a really piece after we had recorded our last edition. Atipa Mabongo, former Southland athlete who's now based over in the US and has been for a few years as part of the Kansas City Chiefs. There's an incredible story that you dug into in one of your big reads on the Southland Tribune. Tell us a little bit about the background of that one.
Well, obviously it's an incredible story. Anyway, I mean, when you're talking a girl from Taurau landing a job with the Kansas City Chiefs, but also a team that's gone on to win the Super Bowl twice back to back, and the way it works, she gets to pick up a couple of Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
So that was obviously in Las Vegas and a pretty special moment. But obviously, there was the street parade, which turned a little nasty with a shooting there, and unfortunately Atipa was very close to it. So I had a chat to her about that and just the conflicting emotions of going from such a high of being part, celebrating with a Super Bowl winning organisation to that, what she described it as emotional whiplash.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I know I'd reached out to her as well too about potentially getting her onto the radio for a bit of a chat, and I'd only reached out, of course, after the result of the Super Bowl, and she was good enough to respond after the tragedy, that occurred at the victory parade as well too, and understandably, wasn't in any position where she wanted to necessarily speak publicly, which you could understand as well too. So, yeah, really. You've got to give her ups as well too for having that conversation, and being as open as she was too. So could certainly endorse having a read of that on the Southland Tribune.
Gee, isn't sport a great platform when you think about it? I was just thinking then, you got to, as you say, Sav, a girl from a Tautau who ends up being obviously quite a key member of the backroom staff of a 2-time winning team in what is probably the biggest sporting competition in the world, the NFL, isn't it? So,
well, just having that conversation to it actually ramped up further than that with the whole Taylor Swift situation and her role in the organisations around the whole influencer thing and culture and whatnot, and just how the Kansas City Chiefs were already one of the world's big global sports brand, but overnight almost it just took off, and she talked about how crazy that was, but for her personally to be part of that she talks about probably squeezing 7 or 8 years of work experience or knowledge into probably 2 years. It's pretty cool, and like she said, it's all it is I guess in life is just she took the opportunity, this athletic scholarship out of Southland, and ended up in the role she is.
Crazy, isn't it? Also, that you were at the Rugby League Grand Final. I was coming back from Greymouth. You were playing pennants at Riverton. Talk us through the golf on the weekend.
Yeah, well, the golf left a bit to be desired, but they were fantastic hosts out at the Riverton Golf Course. And considering the summer we've had, they've put a heck of a lot of work into that course. It was presented in fantastic conditions, and it was my handicap pennants debut. The boys get a chance to sort of travel around some of the country courses, and I missed the Waikaka round, the first round, unfortunately, but Riverton was good, and we've got Mataura coming up this Sunday, so really looking forward to that too.
Yeah, good stuff. Like it. Sports awards too. So opened up for nominations.
All open now
yep.
on the website. It's looking forward to a fantastic year. We mentioned last week just the last 12 months. When you have a quick look back, there's been just some outstanding achievements across the board. We've had Netball World Cups, we've had Rugby World Cups, we've had everything. So looking forward to seeing those nominations come in. We will take them from the regional sports organisations, from parents, from coaches, from clubs, from different organisations. So there's lots of categories there. There's lots of people to be recognised. So looking forward to seeing those nominations roll in.
I think it's just important to make sure people get their entries in, isn't it? Because obviously, sometimes times I've been involved here, people say, "Oh, well, you look at the standard. Oh, I probably won't enter," but people should back themselves, I guess. And what can be the worst thing? You miss out. So
100%. It's like you can't win lotto if you don't buy a ticket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
What to make mention too, and certainly one of the very strong candidates, I suspect, for Team of the Year will be the Southland Boys High School First 15. Not to prejudge,
they could feature.
Not to prejudge the judging process in any shape or size. There, they've actually got a dinner which I'm tied up in. Actually, I'm looking forward to hosting this one. So they've got a gala dinner, which we can give a mention to, and fundraising auction coming up on Saturday, the 6th of April. So there's not a bad lineup of old boys actually that are going to be chatting on the night. So we'll be having a yarn with Mills Muliaina, Ethan de Groot, Sean Withy, and Jack Taylor. That's reasonable. It's worked out well. So it's an off week for the Highlanders. They've got that weekend off. So it's great to have Sean and Jack obviously there as well, and Ethan, and then Mills is coming down for it as well too. So tickets are available. Best bet's probably to head up the Southland Boys High website and get those, because it's obviously raising funds for their national championship winning First 15 off to the Sanix World Youth Rugby Invitational Tournament, which is actually next month. I think that's right. They go to Japan actually.
May, is it?
Yeah,
that'll be a great night.
Yeah. Good stuff. Right, so a guest. As we mentioned, we were fortunate enough to spend time with Cormac Buchanan last week to get us going on the Raw, and we're going to talk club cricket, and we're going to do that with a stalwart of the Appleby Cricket Club, Jamie Clark. Well, we are in the week of the Southland Club Cricket Final, so we thought leading into that we would bring in Appleby stalwart Jamie Clark, who is with us. Mate, welcome along. She's going to be a big go on the weekend. Appleby up against Invercargill Wild Boys, two form sides of the comp. How are you feeling in the week leading in?
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously you always get excited for a final, whether it's doesn't matter what sport you're playing at what level. Final's always a big occasion, and just excited to play some cricket. To be fair, it's going to be good, and especially to come up against probably our rivals of the last few years, Old Boys. It's going to make it even more special if we can tip them up in the final. It'll be good. So, but yeah, that week building up to a final is always pretty good and pretty special, and it makes the whole season worth it.
You're in a unique situation. I mean, with this weather and a couple of other situations, you haven't actually played. Well, when I say you, Appleby haven't played a game for a while. What is it, about a month or something like that? Yeah,
be the best part of a month. We haven't played a game, and it's been a bit frustrating. Even sort of training on the Tuesdays has been a bit of a challenge to try and get outside and do what we usually do during the week. So it's just part and parcel of cricket this time of the year. It's not the first time we've been down this situation where we haven't played a lot of cricket. But it's just frustrating, and you can't do much about it. You can just try and do what you can, get into the indoor nets at Queen's Park and do a bit of extra training. But yeah, it's far
how
from
good's
ideal.
the Southland summer, right?
Especially this one.
Yeah,
and a bit frustrating at a personal level too, isn't it? Because it's left you 297 not out.
Yeah. It was sort of a wee bit of a goal at the start of the season to see if I can get through 300 games and maybe pull up stumps, because we've got a good young core of players at Appleby, so it would be nice to sort of step away and let them take over the mantle. But yeah, the way things are looking, I may be back for another season, whether I like it or not. So, yeah, you can't help
I reckon
these
this is a bit of an Appleby stitch-up. They've done the maths, they've rounded down, they've got you stranded at 297 on the weekend, so this is just a recruitment strategy for next year, mate.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past some of the people in the background of Appleby to bloody stitch me up. It's but that is what it is.
Yeah, what sort of number? What number can we put up that is just low enough to get him back? That just tantalising enough.
I think sports clubs right throughout Southland have realised if you start calculating games, you get an extra 2 or 3 seasons out of guys. Because they're like, I might hang around for the 100th or whatever. I think it's a great recruitment or retention tool.
Yeah, I must admit, it's not really a number. I've never really been that conscious or cared too much about my stats and stuff like that. But I guess when you're that close to a milestone, and everyone else seems to make a big deal about it, I guess you do sort of.
So just to make it right. So Appleby's been around for this is the 125th year. Would you be the first to play 300 games?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who's played 250. So yeah, but obviously,
mate, you could have finished a couple of years ago.
Look, things have changed over the time. So it used to be they used to play 2-day games. So you literally 2 days of cricket was one game. So
right.
You got to
Good point.
look at it in that way. So there's some guys who've probably played close to it, but I don't think there's many back then that had played 150. So I guess if you tally it up. And some of the T20s, they only count as half games if we played 2 in a day, so things like that sort of go either way.
Actually, I was reading an article that Logan Savoury, who opposite us here, wrote in, when was that, 2018, I think was the byline on it.
Yeah, it would have been 5.
Well, that was for your 200 games, you know, so there you go, another 5 years, mate, you can chalk up 400. Huh?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate the last few seasons. I haven't actually missed too many games with only the games that have been rained off or been defaulted to, so I've been fortunate in that regard that I haven't actually missed too many with injury and work, so you never know. You don't want to say it. I don't want to tell my wife that because it could be a catastrophe for me, but you never know. Just as long as I'm enjoying it, that's why I'm still playing right now, because I enjoy it, enjoy the guys and enjoy the battle on a Saturday, but once that sort of fire dwindles off, then you never know, that might be the end of it.
What is it about the club that sort of keeps you rocking up year after year?
I just love the guys, It's we've got a good group of guys, and we've got to build a really good culture in probably the last 10 years. Like we've just, I think Saturdays can be a battle if you're out in the field, like especially on an average day when it's windy and you got to be out there for 50 overs. But we've sort of built a thing where we just try and enjoy it as much as we can, and if that means sort of sledging each other rather than the opposition, which is what we're quite good at. Just things like that to just try and make it enjoyable. And I think you got to do it for every sport, but I think cricket in particular, where it's it's quite time consuming and you're quite taxing on you out there. You've just got to try and make it as fun as possible. And it seems like a bit of a cliche debate, try and make things fun, but that's been our big thing,
Because I reckon during my time playing club cricket, I reckon on my head I retired about 5 times out on it. And some guys holding the bat like an axe and just chopping you all over the place, and it's windy at Miller Street or something. That must have gone through your head a few times. Then you come back the next week fizzing. But has that gone through your head a few times?
Yeah, in the last couple of seasons, because I was sort of struggling. The body wasn't enjoying it. I've had shoulders sort of struggling to even just throw a ball in from the 30-metre circle has been a chore for a couple of seasons there. But, that's when you sort of think, should I give it away? But I don't know, like Saturday morning rolls around and there's probably nowhere else I'd rather be than out on the field on a Saturday, and that's what keeps you going.
Nice. You mentioned Chopper before. There'd be some great characters that you've played with over the years.
Yeah. He'd be one of the better ones. I think I would have played probably 220 odd games with him. Like, just some of the yarns and some of the chats, and there's been some real the only way to put it is real characters. To put it politely, characters. Even just some of the younger guys coming through now, they're just brilliant off the field, and they make it what it is,
I think it is one of those games, though, right, that there is so much downtime. You're out in the field, as Sav says, in the wind, and you do need to have that camaraderie or that banter to kind of get you through to pass the time, right?
Yeah, even when you're batting, you're on the sidelines with your teammates, and just.
I was never in long enough for that. So
that's why. Yeah. If you're you're on the sidelines, either scoring or umpiring, but you're still with your teammates, and you still yeah, you got to keep the good banter going, otherwise, yeah, you start bloody fighting each other at the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How do you reflect on it if you think back, and we're all probably, having played a bit myself back in the day as well too. I mean, compare what the competition's like now by comparison, because it's obviously gone through its its ups and downs from a depth point of view, I guess, over the years as well too. What would be your estimation, mate, on how it sort of sits right now?
the standards definitely dropped away a wee bit. It's not from lack of effort from people, but it's just the nature of, I guess, of quite a few sports, but cricket in particular, where it's just that retention of players, and especially those players with a bit of ability that come through, they sort of tend to drop off. And it has been noticeable. I think if you put a team that I played against with 20 years ago against the team now, they'd probably blow them off the park a wee bit. And that's, like I said, it's nothing to do with effort or anything, but it's just that natural ability and trying to get the retention. And like this season, where there's only 5 senior teams, it's obviously a challenge to get enough players up to a high standard where they're keen to play senior cricket. So that's probably the big takeaway, is just that and the depth in teams. A lot of teams are sort of struggling to field an 11 every week. Where like when I started, you had to get selected in the senior team rather than some guy calling you up because we need you to play.
Because you talk about getting 11 guys, and I reckon in grassroots sports, one of the big hospital passes is being a captain of a club cricket team. And unfortunately, I went through that too. Where it's not just about setting fields and whatnot. It's trying to find, sometimes, depending on a week, 11 players, and then if you're really good, you've got 13 or 14, and you have to drop some guy. I mean, and you've been through that as captain, haven't you?
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. Was Thursday nights we'd finish training. We're sort of in our group trying to think about who we can get to play, and trying to bring around everyone. And like you said, you're pretty much the coach, you're the manager, you're the equipment supervisor, you're everything. You're in charge of the kit. It's actually a wee bit more to it, and it takes a lot of commitment. And I think that comes back to the point about the standard of cricket. Sometimes getting those those older people to hang around in the game and to be in the background. And that's probably where it's lacked quite a bit in Southland cricket, just getting those older heads to stay involved. And it's a lot of commitment, but that's probably a big takeaway. That if we could have a few more of those in some of the other clubs, they'll go out, because I think we're fortunate where we are with Appleby with who we've got. But it's a bit of an issue.
It's just time too, right? I mean, it's the hard part about it is that, I've got a couple of teenage kids myself, and I know what their attention spans are like, right? But just, just the time commitment. It's the big difference, eh? Because, Nath, you were saying as well too, you've heard of plenty of people that have played 300 club footy games, but that's 80 minutes, let alone the whole day.
Yeah, well,
and we've all done that, right? Is sat around until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon before, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon before they call play and no play allowed. You turn around and have another crack next week, so it's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've got my 14-year-old son's been, he's filled in about 4 or 5 games for us this year, and he's pretty similar. It's if he's out there doing it, or he's batting or bowling, it's fine. But just getting them to stay involved and stay wanting to do things. I think it's just that whole sort of generation where it's
Well, it's sort of moved that way anyway, right? Because it was used to be 2-day cricket back in the day, which you'd play over 2 weekends. Now, as you say, it's 50 over comp, and now the T20, as part of it as well too. There's only so much shortening that you can do, right? Yeah,
well, it's even at a 50 over competition, we played the first round. It's only 40 overs now, and it feels like it's sort of heading towards that way. Rightly or wrongly, I'd if I had my way, I'm a bit of a relic. I'd rather be playing 2-day cricket than anything, but I'm probably definitely the minority on that. So, I think it's just heading that way where you just got to shorten it down, and people just don't have the time they have as well. Even the older generation don't have as well. So, it's unfortunate, but it's just the way nature sport, I guess. Everything's just got to evolve over time.
I remember back in the day, some of the boys going up and playing for Eastern in the town comp, and they'd come back with these stories about Jeffrey Wilson and just how scary he was. And then later on, there's I guess there was the likes of Billy and those sorts of guys. Like, were there guys that you were just genuinely afraid of, sort of back in the day?
Oh, Mark Bilcliffe, 100%. Yeah, and you ask anyone who played, probably from early 2000s through to 2015 about Billy. He was just, because he's a hell of a competitor, and just that mentality, and he was quite quick enough that if you weren't good enough, you technically weren't good enough, you could probably clean you up. But even like I was fortunate enough to play a couple of games with Jeff when he come back from rugby, and man, just the athlete, like he's just different. I remember watching him bat and just the way he running between wickets, like little things like that. He sort of he just blew you away how easy he made it look, eh? But yeah, Bill Cliff was definitely the scariest.
It's certainly hard to get 11 players in the day you're playing Central Western when Mark Billcliffe was playing.
Yeah,
Get the phone call and, oh no, I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, there's nothing scarier than him off the short run.
You mentioned a young fella, Quaid. Is Quaid your boy? Yeah. Tell me about sort of playing alongside him. That's pretty special.
Oh, it's been awesome, mate. He played softball the last few seasons, but he for whatever reason I didn't push him to it. He just said, he was keen to play a bit of cricket. He played a bit for the Colts at Boys High, but we were sort of short at Appleby, so I've just sort of asked him if he could fill in for us, and it's sort of become a bit of a ongoing thing. So he seems to be enjoying it. I think he enjoys playing with me more than probably his mates, which is strange, but yeah, must not yell at him enough in the field. But yeah, it's been good, eh? And it's it's one of those weird things. I've sort of played with a couple of young fellas that are probably the same age as my daughter this year, so it's a bit of a concern. It's a concern, right?
Don't think about it too
no,
much.
No, try not to.
Well, isn't it a similar situation to how you got started? Kind of roped in when they were a bit short, way back in the day, as a young teenage fella.
Yeah, I did. I was playing it just at Mount Anglin College there, just in the first 11. It was good, and but then Richard Wilson they were short. The senior team was short, and I thought, he asked if I could come out and play, and I remember playing that first game at Central Western. It was again an eye opener. I was playing against some Southland reps, and it was good though. But it just got me hooked, and my father had sort of some affiliations to Metro, and I probably could have gone to Metro, but Richard sort of dragged me into Appleby, and never looked back since then. I always lived around the corner, so I always had a bit of affiliation to Appleby. But yeah, once I played that first game, it was my home for cricket, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
I'd imagine Malcolm Walker gave you a bit of a welcome in that game, did he?
Yeah, actually, because we'd played him, he played for the Central Western Bees that same season, and we actually got the wood over him in a game, and he gave us an fearful about it, eh? But it was that's the beauty of Malcolm. Again, another competitor, eh? Those guys who won't give you an inch on the field, eh?
He got a ridiculous amount of wickets for the bowler he was, but I think a lot of it was he just talked guys out, didn't he?
Oh, we had a theory that he come on first change after Billcliffe, and everyone was just ducking and diving from Billcliffe, and then they see Malcolm, they tee off against him and gets his wickets that way. Yeah.
Hey, so as you kind of reflect on the, so we've talked a little bit about the names, but tell us, like in terms of, at a club cricket level in Southland, who are the names that spring to mind for you in terms of over the years, maybe not the longevity of you, but, have been kind of the best competitors to go up against?